guys. How's it going? Okay, I'm trying to find the right lighting. This is like the worst time of day because it's like, I mean, it's dark where you're at probably, but here I've been relegated up to the office, which doesn't have the best lighting, so I apologize. It looks a little grainy, and I feel like if I turn this light off, that makes it worse. So, I don't know. We're just going to go with it. All right. Hopefully this is coming through. Oh, good. I have some people. You never know. My name is Jodie, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Hey, oh, good. I'm in the right group. Yay. Again, I apologize with the lighting. Normally, I do my videos downstairs, but you know how that goes with 3 kids. I had to find a quiet spot in the house, so I'm in the office, which doesn't have the best lighting, so... I am so excited to be here with you guys. This is one of my favorite topics. I love, love, love. Oh, you had to approve it? Oh, no. Huh, I didn't have to do that in my group. That's so weird. But, okay, cool. Thank you, Christy, for approving me. Anyways, I love this topic because I feel like for me, and I'll tell you a little bit about my backstory, tiny shortened version. But I feel like when I started using the oils for myself, it was really, really for hormonal, endocrine balance, emotional stuff. And I didn't even start doing on myself until a little bit into my journey. So, hey guys, thanks for joining. Oh, Minnesota. Ooh, it's really cold there. It's supposed to be 75 here this week. I bet you're jealous and sunny. But sometimes I wish I had the snow too, so... anyways, all right, so I am Jodie Meschuk, fellow Diamond with Miss Christy Collins, and by the way, you guys are so incredibly lucky to have her. I cannot even tell you. We met, we've known each other, but I feel like we had a really good chance to sort of talk at Diamond Retreat in Hawaii last year, and then just kind of had a great relationship, and we just kind of get each other, I feel like, and I think having those cross-line relationships are super, super important, because sometimes there's things you want to chat about that maybe are things where you can get insight from a different viewpoint, and we can get that from cross-line. So I think it's super powerful, and I appreciate her so much, and thanks for letting me come in here and crash your group. I can only imagine how amazing this group is, right? So just know that Christy is an incredible, incredible treasure for you guys. You guys are so lucky. I mean, I will tell you that there are people on my team that literally just flock to her for her information and her guidance and her insight. So the fact that she gets to lead you guys is just so awesome, okay? So... thank you for letting me be in here. The way that I love Facebook Live because you can ask your questions, but sometimes I get a little lost too. But definitely go ahead and ask your questions as we go. I will do my best to answer them. As you know, in this type of thing, we don't have to necessarily be experts, but we have tools. I mean, we have like our reference books, and we have Google, although Google's like my frenemy. It's a friend and an enemy at the same time, so be careful with Google. But we have so many tools at our fingertips, and I think sometimes it really just takes sort of understanding how we can use the oils differently than sort of what we think we're supposed to be using them for, that they have so many uses beyond just a one-dimensional thing. And that's the beauty of oils, is essential oils are not like pharmaceuticals, right? Like pharmaceuticals try to force change on the body, but essential oils are like homeostatic. They bring about balance in the body. They help to keep our body where it's supposed to be. So that's a beautiful thing. And so with this class, it's really great because I know there's a lot of questions when it comes to hormones and stuff like that. So again, I'll do my best to answer your questions and just give you some insight from things that I've learned and all of that stuff, okay? So we will dig right in. I'm not sure if Christy posted the handout or not, but either way, you'll get a handout that you guys can refer to later. I really, remember when I first started with oils. So when I first started, I started for my son. He was diagnosed with autism when he was about 2 years old, or a little bit before 2. And it was really a time where I just needed answers. And the traditional medical community wasn't giving me any answers and kind of offering me no hope whatsoever. So I reached for all types of natural things. I was not born into a natural-minded family. So it was very scary for me and very new. And it just, things come at the right time for us. And I always tell my team, oils come in at the right time, and when someone's not ready, they're not going to be ready. And we don't want to force them, because if we do, then it's not going to work. You have to actually be energetically, mentally, physically ready to take that step. And when we're not, then we don't see results, right? So anyways, I was ready, and we needed some answers. So I started using oils on him about halfway through our recovery process. We did actually end up recovering him from his autism diagnosis, but that was not dumping an oil on his head. So let me make that very clear. It was through all types of dietary changes, homeopathics, detox, making different lifestyle changes, all of that stuff. But about halfway through his recovery process, I needed some support for his immune system and support for his respiratory tract and digestive tract. And that's when oils came in. Okay. And before Young Living, I admit I did have the icky oils from Whole Foods. So don't shoot me, but I think some of us have all been in that same boat. And so that's how I started. And we've just seen some incredible results. I remember about maybe a year into my journey with Young Living, I got the Dragon Time oil because one of my girlfriends was raving about it. And I was like, man, this is I know it's going to be backwards on your screen, but I'm like, this is the weirdest name oil ever. Why is it called Dragon Time? And I actually thought it was for and I hope we can be really open and honest in this class, because we are talking about hormones after all. But I thought it was something you were supposed to use down there. And so I started doing that, and let's just say that there are some great results you can see from putting it down there. But Dragon Time, I think, really is termed for taming the dragon that we have inside of us when it comes to hormonal imbalances like mood swings and temperature shifts and, cramps and all that kind of stuff, right? So I love the name of it, and I think it helps give us insight into what Dragon Time can do for us. But ladies, if you want to put it down there, it may actually help with your libido a little bit. Okay, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about our endocrine system, just to kind of give us some. I like to give a little bit of foundational info because I think it's really important for us to understand how our body works. When you can understand how your body works, you can then begin to make better decisions on which oils you want to choose, how you want to use them, and it kind of just all clicks, right? But a lot of times I feel like we go into this, or a lot of people go into this, and we don't even understand how our body functions. And we don't have to be an expert. We don't have to, go to school to try to be an expert on it. It's just understanding the basics, the basic functions of our body and things that we need to take care of in our body in order to see better results. So when we're talking about the endocrine system, it's a beautiful, beautiful system that comprises of, our metabolic hormone functions. We're talking, you've got the thyroid, you've got the hypothalamus, you've got the pituitary, the ovaries, the testes for men, even linking the adrenals in there, right? So the endocrine system is super, super important, and it gives a lot of feedback to our body in many different ways. So keeping it balanced and keeping it as healthy as possible is really a key to overall balance with what we as women struggle with, and men too, because they struggle with their own testosterone changes and stuff like that as they age. So the endocrine system, let's start with the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus is a primary regulatory center in the body. And it's in here, right? It's deep in here. It is basically the kind of the deep center of the brain area. and it receives signals from the blood. So it receives chemical signals from the blood. So based on how healthy your blood is, what's going on with your blood, your hypothalamus receives signals from that and then decides what it needs to do, right? So we want to make sure it's receiving the proper signals, it's receiving healthy signals and things like that. It also receives electrical signals from our emotions, okay? The hypothalamus is a part of our limbic portion of our brain. And if you know a lot about, you know, the feelings kit, or Christy did an amazing class for my group. We kind of did an amazing trade-off with this. And she did the Seventh Heaven kit, which was so amazing, by the way. You guys are so lucky. But the hypothalamus receives electrical signals from the emotional stimuli that we're taking in every day. So it's really, really, really important, okay? It also is involved in basically everyday regulatory things that are occurring with us, okay? So day-to-day metabolic functions in the body, it helps with, oh, Christy, did I just call you out about that class? You guys are so lucky to have Christy. Anyways, so it's day-to-day metabolic functions in the body. The hypothalamus keeps track of our blood concentrations, our hormones, our water, our electrolytes, our nutrients, and it basically receives a copy of every nerve impulse that is transmitted throughout the body. Okay, so it's super, super important, the hypothalamus, all right? Oh, see, there you go. It was a Facebook Live. I'm sure she did it for you because she's amazing and she does all kinds of classes. Okay, so the hypothalamus, basically, again, super, super important. It's your primary regulatory center. So what we're doing is, what I'm doing is I'm basically starting from the top and we're going to go down. Here's the thing. Most people, when they're talking about hormones, where do you start? The ovaries, right? We always start where we're having the problem, where we're feeling the problem, whether it's cramps or whether it's things that are going on with our period, or maybe it's infertility or a libido or whatever it is. Our society is trained to go to the problem as it's manifesting versus starting from the regulatory centers and going and working from the top down. And as we begin to balance this from the top down, you'll see how it begins to balance all of the things that we're struggling with, right? So that's what we're doing, is we're kind of starting from the top and going down, okay? So emotions, because they're a part of the hypothalamus, think about how important that is, okay? We know that emotions have a dramatic effect on us physically, okay? And you know some of those people around you. Man, they are always stressed out, or they're always angry. And physically, are they 100%? Probably not, okay? Well, that's a part of the hypothalamus. And it's really, really important to keep the emotions in check. And we have those tools. We have the essential oils to help those, to help us stay balanced with our emotions, which in turn is going to help the electrical signals given to your hypothalamus then connect with the chemical signals of the blood to release the proper information into the next portion, which will be the pituitary, which we'll get to. Does that make sense to you guys? So all of this is tied together, okay? So you just think about emotions. I mean, you're thinking about like fear, anger, sadness, worry, unforgiveness, revenge, you know, and all of those things connect to different organs in our body: kidneys, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, liver, heart, lungs, stomach, all those things, right? Well, it's starting with the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is directing the electrical and chemical signals down into those areas. Sorry, my bangs. I really need to cut my bangs. Okay, I'm okay now. All right. All right, so hypothalamus is super, super important. And we're going to get into, after we understand a lot of this stuff, we'll get into actually how we can directly support these areas of our body. But just from an emotional standpoint, use your oils to support you emotionally, right? And you're going to figure out which ones help you with the day-to-day stress and which ones help you with the anger. Hello, I yelled at my kids today. Yeah, I did. I mean, we have the tools for us, okay? All right, so now let's move on to the pituitary. So the pituitary is also a master gland. And the pituitary is actually considered by most people the master gland in the body. However, it's really the hypothalamus that is. I think so. And there's a lot of people that would agree that it is. And it's because the emotions have such a dramatic effect on our endocrine balance, disruption, positive stuff, negative stuff, all that. So the pituitary really should be considered like an executive officer, okay, like the vice president. You've got the hypothalamus, which is sending signals to your pituitary, okay? So now with the hypothalamus, we're gonna, and you guys can look at your handout a little bit later, but that is, dragons are very moody, okay? So when you think of the hypothalamus, think dragons are very moody. You're thinking emotions, all right? You're thinking chemical and electrical signals, all right? When it comes to the pituitary, it's that dragons can be very sleepy, all right? And the pituitary, what's interesting about the pituitary gland is that it oftentimes is actually damaged in many people, and they don't even know it. Most of us probably, I would say, in upwards of 75%, maybe more, are walking around with damaged pituitary glands. And it happens in ways that we often are not aware of. It can happen through the birthing process. It can happen through concussions. It can happen just through a fall. It can happen when we are not taking care of, our brain, so to speak, right? But in many cases, many people are walking around with a damaged pituitary, and if it's the master gland, one of them, you can imagine how important that is. And it's super, super important because it produces several hormones that have a direct effect on our body, including human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is extremely important for our skin health, for anti-aging properties, for just overall youth, feeling strong, all of that. So the pituitary is really, really important for that. It secretes hormones that now go signals into the ovaries and the testes. Okay, so you're getting the direction from the hypothalamus into the pituitary, and it's sending signals out into the respective areas, whether it's the testes or the ovaries. Okay. So the pituitary has a big, big prominence in our body, and it controls a lot of other glands based on how healthy it is and the signals that it's giving those other glands, okay? Now, it has a very protected location. It's very, very deep inside the brain. It's kind of deep right by in the third eye area, and that's why a lot of people oftentimes don't understand why their pituitary can be damaged, but it can be damaged through the concussions or through the birth process, okay? So important ways to also take care of your pituitary would be through chiropractic care, cranial sacral care, things like that can really help keep your pituitary healthy and get it back into balance. Some symptoms of pituitary damage would be high blood pressure, difficult pregnancies, lactation problems, low sex hormones, low thyroid function, water retention, weakness, poor memory. Hello, I have all these sometimes, okay? Now don't freak out, because the pituitary is very easy to take care of. And even if you think you have a symptom on that list, sometimes that's just normal, and we all deal with those things. But the other thing about the pituitary is it can mimic the thyroid in many ways. So it actually has, when it's not, sometimes it can release something that's called an adenoma, which is a sac, basically, that the pituitary will release, and it has symptoms that mimic hypothyroidism. So that's why oftentimes I really encourage my members or my clients that I work with to get several batteries of tests on their thyroid and do it in several different ways, because oftentimes if you have a damaged pituitary and it's releasing these adenomas that are that mimic hypothyroidism, you're gonna be misdiagnosed, right? So it's a matter of going through that process of elimination and really understanding your body, and the fact that with the pituitary, it's very, very, very easy to try to support it naturally to help bring about some balance to the pituitary. So oftentimes, not always, okay, but sometimes there are some things where you might want to investigate your pituitary if you think your thyroid is having some issues where it could be helpful to support your pituitary gland, okay? So here is a great step to supporting the pituitary gland. Um, it's very simple. Frankincense, actually sacred frankincense would be better. So sacred frankincense, Idaho balsam fir, pressed to the roof of the mouth. So you would basically take your little oil, drop it, press it to the roof of the mouth, and that is the only way to access your pituitary gland. So if you could take sacred frankincense or Idaho balsam fir, you could do a combo of those if you need a lot of strength for it, and press it to the roof of your mouth. And that is the only way to access your pituitary gland. There really is no other way. And yes, it is involved in the sleep-wake cycle. So even if you don't think you have pituitary damage, you can just start doing that and it's only going to help, right? It's just going to help support it. Also, omegas. A lot of omegas. So we have omega Jais. That is one thing that you can take. There's other, cod liver oil, things like that. So, but a lot of omegas will really help to support. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the time. Sorry. I'm going to try and keep this to an hour, but you never know. Okay, so then let's move on to the thyroid. So we've got hypothalamus, pituitary, down to the thyroid. Okay, now again, remember, if the pituitary can mimic many functions of the thyroid, you can imagine that when it starts to secrete those signals, whether healthy, balanced, or not, how is that going to affect the thyroid, right? And for the thyroid, we say that these dragons have voracious appetites, okay? So when you're thinking about the thyroid, what can happen? It can be not much appetite, or it can be a lot of appetite, because it depends on if your thyroid is overworked or if it's kind of not working as it should, right? So it's under the direction of the pituitary gland, and it secretes hormones, primarily thyroxine. So thyroxine is that hormone that is going to boost metabolism. It's going to, help every cell of the body with metabolic activity. Okay, so your thyroid, think metabolic activity, and how that can support your metabolism. Okay, and now this is going to be, with the thyroid, just know. Here's how I'll word this probably. It's a very tricky situation right now, especially in the Western mindset, because it can be very difficult to get an accurate test on your thyroid. And so you want to really do multiple tests, multiple times, different ways. Number one, you could do a blood one with a normal, regular doctor. You can do testing with a naturopath. You can do energetic testing. You really, really, really want to get a full spectrum so that you're not jumping into something that you don't need when your thyroid might be okay, but you just need to give it a little bit of support, right? And I think the thyroid is one of those that can be overly diagnosed, very quick to be put on synthetics for it. And in some cases we might need that, but just again, go back to the very beginning where you guys have the tools, you guys have the brain, it's your body, and really research what you need to know about it before jumping into something that you may not need. Okay. Okay. So with symptoms of hypothyroidism, okay, so this would be like fatigue, weakness, weight gain, or difficulty losing weight, coarse, dry hair. So a lot of times hair can be a big indicator of the balance that our body is in. This is why oftentimes we do like heavy metal testing with hair. We do a lot of things because that is actually one of the ways that we can get a picture of our health in the present moment is by testing our hair. Okay, so keeping an eye on the health of your own hair and what's going on with it is actually a good indication of the health of your body. Okay, and this is why I use a lot of sulfurzyme powder, by the way. It can be, again, hair loss. It could be constipation, depression, irritability, memory loss, decreased libido, hormonal imbalances. Like, all of this technically is classified under thyroid. But the thing is, we could feel any number of these things on a daily basis, or maybe once a month, or things like that. And so, again, I just encourage you not to jump to the worst case scenario, but to know that you can start at the top and work your way down. And maybe if you start here and you maybe support the pituitary, maybe all of a sudden, like, you're feeling really good, right? And maybe it's not as bad as you thought it was, okay? Does that make sense, I hope? All right. Hopefully I'm making sense. Okay. So, again, just be wary that when Western type things test the thyroid, it's on a bell curve. And so it's not really maybe looking at what your health should be, okay? And so that's why I encourage you to test it in many, many different ways, all right? The very first thing you could ever do to jumpstart your thyroid is EndoFlex. So even if you maybe got a report back that you need to support your thyroid a little bit, and you want to jumpstart it and do something natural first, your very first thing that you should choose is EndoFlex. You can do EndoFlex Vitality internally. I actually think it's an amazing way to support the thyroid is by taking it internally. You could do EndoFlex over the thyroid as well, okay? Also remember, press to the roof of the mouth because the pituitary is directing the thyroid. So your first step would be EndoFlex, and then would be myrtle. Myrtle and lemongrass over the throat is incredibly supportive of your thyroid. Myrtle is in EndoFlex, right? It's like the #1 oil in EndoFlex for a reason because myrtle is thyroid all the way, okay? So you can do it over the throat, just like that. I love myrtle, by the way. We use it all the time. It's like one of my favorites, and I use it on my kids for their chest. If you're sensitive, obviously, like to lemongrass and stuff, because it can be kind of spicy, then you may want to dilute it, okay? All right, so Thyromin. We also carry Thyromin, not to be confused with Thyroxin. And Thyromin is an incredible supplement to take. The thing with our supplements and oils is to remember that they are balancers. So remember, essential oils bring homeostasis to the body, okay? Synthetics want to force change on the body that the body may not be ready for, okay? So the cool thing about oils and supplements that we carry is that they are homeostatic and they're balancers, which means that it doesn't matter if you would consider yourself to be classified as hypo or hyperthyroid, you would do the same protocol as anybody else because oils are balancers, okay? So Thyromin would be great for any classification of supporting the thyroid. In general, a great protocol that I like to share for Thyromin, because a lot of people don't really know how to take our supplements right away, or they'll take it and they'll be like, I don't think this is working, or I feel like it's doing the opposite for me. And sometimes that happens with Progestins Plus, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you want to take 2 Thyromin in the evening, okay? So you actually want to start in the evening for a few days. So 2 Thyromin in the evening for a few days. You may very well feel like you're more active and awake at night. Like it might disrupt your sleep cycle for a tiny bit, okay? Push through it. That's a good sign. It's trying to balance, it's trying to bring homeostasis. Your thyroid is doing a lot of work at night, okay? So just push through it. You can actually increase up to like 4 at night. And then you can go to taking it in the morning if you want to. But you kind of start and you jumpstart it with taking it at night. And you can keep it at night too if you want to. But the thyroid is very important because the thyroid is receiving major energy from the meridian system at night. So it's the perfect time for you to support your thyroid at night because that's when it's receiving energy from the meridian systems between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Okay, and that's why you may feel a little bit of off, for the first week or things like that. Okay. All right. So another thing that you can do is you can test your thyroid functionality and healthiness by doing a self-iodine test. And so what I encourage a lot of my members and clients to do is to get some iodine and to place it on the belly. Just place it right here on the belly. And you can test by how much it's absorbed or not absorbed by how healthy your thyroid is, okay? So it's a perfect self-test to do, and anybody can do it at home. And you can do it as often as you want to test, how healthy functioning your thyroid actually is. And so what you'll do is you'll basically put the iodine in about like a 2 or 3 inch square on your abdomen. Check it in about 20 minutes. If it's absorbed into the skin and did not leave a stain, that's an indication that you need more iodine in your system. So if it's rapidly absorbing, you're needing more iodine. One of the best ways to support the thyroid is through iodine supplementation as well. And in homeopathic medicine and things that I do from a naturopathic standpoint, I would encourage somebody to take iodine. But that's a great self-test that you can do. Now, if it doesn't absorb and you're seeing the absorption rate become slower, that means your thyroid's beginning to balance out a little bit. So it's a great self-test that you can do, all right? How are we doing? Good? Okay. All right, so that was the thyroid. All right, now let's move on to the adrenal glands, okay? This is the dragons that are stressed and dragon, okay? So a dragon that is dragon is what the adrenal glands are going to do. How many of you guys have experienced a massive crash at like either 10 o'clock in the morning or like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you just like literally, like I've been there. Like I would be so tired I could take a nap on freaking concrete and it wouldn't even bother me. Like I could, in the middle of the freeway, I could take a nap because I would just like crash, and that was my adrenals. But then when it came to about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I got a huge boost of energy. Okay, that's not a good sign. I know that like sometimes I pride myself on being a night owl sometimes and wanting to work late at night, but that's actually not a good sign, okay? That's a sign that your adrenals are becoming stressed, and it's under the direction of the thyroid. Your thyroid is connected to your adrenals, okay? So let's recap really quick. Hypothalamus, emotions, chemical signals from your blood, which is actually coming from the liver, down to your pituitary, which is directing your thyroid, which is directing your adrenal glands, okay? So this is like massive amounts of stress around us that really can cause and tax our adrenals, okay? Adrenal fatigue, really, when people get adrenal fatigue, it's because they are not managing their stress properly, all right? So it's very much a reaction to stress around us, whether it be work or family, people situations, financial situations, anything like that, okay? So the adrenal gland produces hormones. So the cortex, basically, of the adrenal produces hormone building blocks for the reproductive system, okay? So now the adrenals become connected to hormone building blocks for our ovaries and our testes for men, okay? So whenever there's any kind of trouble with hormones, you always want to think of nourishing your adrenals because of the connection that they have with your ovaries and the testes, okay? So always think how you can be nourishing your adrenals. Let's see what else. Okay, also you're thinking with the adrenals is adrenaline and cortisol, right? So adrenaline, you're thinking the fight or flight, right? It's that fight or flight response, which is cortisol is the stress hormone that is released under stress, okay? It's called the death hormone, and it's called the death hormone for a reason because massive amounts of it, when not properly looked at or helped, can actually cause death in people because it then begins to affect the chemicals in your blood and your heart and all of that stuff. So it kind of has this name of the death hormone. Because really people can die from stress, right? So too much cortisol being excreted can have a big effect. One way that some people can really take inventory of their body is, number one, go back to if you feel like you want to crash between 10 and 2, but then you get a lot of energy at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But also you get this, this tension right here that is... It's literally located here, nowhere else. It's not like head tension around. It's like right here, and it is so strong that you can't even think, but it's very localized to right there. And so that can be a signal of too much cortisol being excreted in the body. It also then has effect on your blood sugar and all of that stuff. So very important to just take inventory of that and know when you see those signs. A great way to nourish the adrenals is extra B vitamins. I love Super B. It keeps me feeling balanced and healthy. I take 2 to 4 a day sometimes because I personally know that my body is sensitive to cortisol excretion. And so I have to be very mindful of that. I take a lot of multigrains, and I do a lot of clove and rosemary and nutmeg on my adrenals. So a really easy recipe you can do would be to take 7 drops of clove, 7 drops of nutmeg, and about 3 drops of rosemary. And your adrenals are located on both sides right above your kidneys. And you just rub it right there. And in fact, you immediately feel sort of a calmness come about your body. You feel, in some respects, you feel a little bit of a boost of energy. Not in the wrong way, but like where you're not feeling like you want to crash between 10 and 2. So it just helps jumpstart, like almost like we're taking Endoflex to jumpstart the thyroid. We're taking these oils and it's sort of just jumpstarting the adrenal glands in a healthy way. So those are my 3 things I do. I don't think, I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty easy to sort of keep your adrenals healthy and happy and really not get into that space of having to hopefully deal with too much issues with them. Okay, Cortistop is another one. Cortistop would be our supplement version of doing like a clove, nutmeg, and rosemary. And that one I encourage, you can do it day or night, but it helps to naturally just support correct cortisol excretion. Okay, so Cortistop is another great one for men and women. Okay, it's not just women that deal with adrenal fatigue or adrenal issues, it's men too. And in some cases it's actually more men because they have high stress jobs. Okay, and hello, how many men actually take care of themselves? I mean, do any of you have husbands that actually take care of themselves, right? It's like we gotta pull the Diet Coke out of their hands and force them to put an oil on, right? They get there eventually, but men, really, really important to look at their adrenals and just help support them, okay? All right, so now that we've done the look at the body, we're going to move on to estrogen and progesterone, which is one of my favorite topics, okay? And I love this topic because there unfortunately is so much misinformation about estrogen and progesterone. I get it all the time of, well, my doctor said that I can't have estrogen, or my doctor said that la 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 la, right? And well-meaning. Okay, I love doctors. I think Western medicine has a beautiful place in our society, but I think that we need to use our brains, okay? And you have a very healthy brain, so you need to use it and figure out the correct information that's out there, okay? Oh, good. Joanna, your husband's better than you. My husband steals my peppermint, which is good. And he stopped drinking a lot of Diet Coke, which I feel like that's a big win. Okay. So, when we talk about women's hormones, and whenever we're talking about things along that nature, we're really talking about estrogen and progesterone and the balance or the cohabitation of the two together in the body, okay? So progesterone, let's talk about this for a minute. Progesterone is so think pro means good, right? It's protective, okay? That's how a great way to think about progesterone, protective. It's something that you actually make naturally when you're pregnant. It's something that the body needs when you're pregnant to keep the baby healthy in the uterus, okay? It helps with the ovaries releasing their eggs. It helps with fertilization in the uterus lining. It helps with skin. It helps with, just normal things that have to do with being a woman and what we go through on a monthly basis, okay? So progesterone, think protective, it's good, all right? It's protective of the cells, okay? Then you've got estrogen, and estrogen isn't always bad, and we're going to get into that in a second. But progesterone is critically important for the female body. And it doesn't matter whether you're premenopausal, postmenopausal, hysterectomy, 12 years old, 60 years old, every single woman needs progesterone. You need it. It's protective. You can't get enough of it, okay? And so just remember that, because there is a lot of misinformation when it comes to hormones. And it's because we're hearing these things and, you know, sometimes they're not really differentiating between a synthetic progesterone or a natural progesterone, or just they're lumping all hormones in together with estrogen and all that stuff. So just know progesterone is protective, okay? It is a, sorry, I heard something. I heard somebody at the door, but it was my husband coming home with the kids. They were at basketball practice. Okay, so it has been found, here's an interesting thing, that neurosteroids, such as progesterone, affect the synaptic functioning and the myelination of the nerves. Okay, so in other words, basically what that means is the ability of nerves to carry signals in our body. And if our nerves are not carrying signals in our body, then, like, where do we go from there, right? So progesterone helps with the synaptic functioning of the nerves. That's why it's so good for you. We need progesterone, okay? We don't need synthetic progesterone, though. We don't need anything synthetic in our body, all right? So that is where you're going to have the differentiation between what you choose to put in your body. It's also called a sex hormone because it increases sexual pleasure. It often, you know, if you're feeling low libido, if, you know, could just be that you need to supplement with some more progesterone, right? It even, again, even women over 60, over 70, all of that, they need progesterone, okay? So that is a little bit about progesterone. Now, let's talk about sort of bringing in the estrogen piece of it, okay? And this is where it's really, really important to understand how this works in the body. And after you understand how this works, then hopefully you can make the best decisions for your own body, okay? And it has to do with the progesterone receptor. So the receptor sites on your cells, okay? A receptor site on a cell is basically a gateway. So if you think of your cell and you've got a receptor site, it's basically a door, right? It's a gateway into the cell. Where something can enter, and it's protein based. Okay, it also needs a ligand, or some. It's, if you've never heard that term before, a ligand, to hold the hormone or mineral or other nutrient to enter the cell. Okay, so just think about your cell, and you've got your receptor site, and it's protein based, and you need a ligand to hold on to something to get into the cell. Okay, so in the case of progesterone receptors, this is critical to understand. First, you have to have estrogen attached to the receptor site. You have to have estrogen, right? It has to attach to the receptor site. Then the progesterone can attach to the estrogen. Then the chemical reaction can take place in the cell in a healthy and balanced way and do what it's supposed to do for the body, okay? If the estrogen is hanging out there on the receptor site and the progesterone never comes, or if it's not enough, or if it's not in supply enough in the body, and this progesterone never comes and attaches to this estrogen, then a negative chemical reaction will happen with that cell, and then you get cell dysfunction, okay? I don't have to go into what cell dysfunction means. You can imagine the different things that happen with women in our bodies, and dysfunction that can happen with the cells. So from the very, very simple concept, think about this. You have all of your receptor sites. You have to have estrogen attached first. So you have to have estrogen in the body. You have to have the right kind of estrogen. Then the progesterone has to come and attach to it, and then the chemical reaction can take place in a positive and a healthy way. If the estrogen is there and your body does not have enough progesterone in it, then a negative reaction will happen on the cell site, and that is not a good thing, okay? That's why you need a lot of progesterone. That's why on some days, I will take a lot of Progestins Plus, because I know that my body needs more. I know that it's protecting my body, okay? What is progesterone? Can we buy it on Amazon? I wouldn't buy Progesterone Plus on Amazon if I were you. That's not going to trust that. Okay. So basically, that's how you can understand it. All right. Is you got to have both, but you really got to have the progesterone in the body, and it's got to be plentiful. Okay. So Progesterone Plus, which is amazing, and it's my absolute favorite thing. This can help make a huge difference in how you feel, both at that time of the month, before the time of the month, after the time of the month. You take it every day. Remember, your body cannot get enough progesterone, okay? So the way I like to take it is just every day, I'll do 3 or 4 drops over my thyroid, and then I'll do 3 or 4 drops on a thin area of my skin, like right here, okay? Before my period, because I tend to PMS really bad, I will take in upwards of 15 to 20 drops to help get me over that hurdle. Okay, so I can start to feel when I'm getting moody, and I will, for like a period of maybe 2 to 3 days, take 15 to 20 drops, get me over that hurdle, and then it's like awesome. Okay. Here's the thing, though, is you can never take enough of this. You can't, I mean, just take as much as you want. Your body needs it. This is not, you're not going to have like, oops, I have too much progesterone. Like, that just doesn't happen, okay? So that's how I like to take it. Another way you can take it is if you want to support a healthy uterus, maybe you want to support a healthy pregnancy or getting pregnant in a healthy way, is you put about 15 to 20 drops on a cotton tampon with frankincense, and you stick it up there a couple times a week to help support a healthy uterus, okay? That's my little tip, but I'm not going to expand on that much more than that because I want to stay as in the boundaries as possible. Okay, let's move on to estrogen really quick. Estrogen is important as well. There are 3 types of estrogen, E1, E2, E3. Obviously, we know that there is a bad form of estrogen, the cancer-causing estrogen, right? So at elevated levels, estrogen exaggerates its normal effects in the body. For example, at elevated levels, it can make you too fat or make you too lumpy or get cystic breasts or even cause breast cancer, right? So at high elevated levels, not good, all right? It can make you crave sweets. It can cause migraines, insomnia, weaken libido, all of these things, okay? But the question is really that why is it that we have an excess amount of the wrong estrogen in our body? That's really the question to be answered, because that is controllable by you. That is something that we all have complete control over, and it comes down to lifestyle choices. So we're getting too many xenoestrogens from the environment, from synthetics, from plastics, from products, beauty products, personal care products, all of that. It's in food additives, it's in hormones given to animals, and we eat the meat. So the problem really is the xenoestrogens that we have been ingesting for years and years and years that's now catching up to us. Nobody ever wants to talk about that. Instead, just give somebody a whole bunch of synthetic estrogen and call it a day, right? No, let's look at our lifestyle choices and let's look at what we can do to take out that burden on our body so that our body has a chance to produce estrogen normally. That will make that positive chemical reaction happen at those receptor sites. And then we're also giving our body enough progesterone, right? So xenoestrogens is what you're really watching out for. So as much as you can cut food additives that are synthetic, that are man-made, that are not natural, just eat natural food, just eat real food, okay? Hormones in animal meat, so organic meat, stay away from pork. Even organic pork has pesticides and bad things in it. We don't eat pork. Insecticides, weed killers, plastics, shampoos. Do not ever put something in the microwave in a plastic container. Just throw your microwave away. Just throw it away. You don't need a microwave. Use your stove, okay, or eat real food. Cosmetics, detergents, all kinds of chemicals. You guys, before we leave our house, most women put on at least 100 chemicals on their body before they leave the house in the morning. So start thinking about that, and then your body won't be creating the poor estrogens that are bad for us. Okay, so xenoestrogens also typically end up in our water supply, where we drink it, or they're picked up by fish and wildlife, and then we eat the fish. I mean, they're just everywhere. So I don't think you need to live in a bubble, but just make some good choices about cleaning up your personal care products, your cleaning products. Don't use your microwave. Don't eat out of plastic. Do not take to-go food in a plastic container. Those kinds of just simple changes that we all can make, okay? So xenoestrogens can attach to the estrogen receptor site on cells. This is where this is an issue, okay? When the xenoestrogen attaches to the estrogen receptor site, it causes tumor formation and prevents progesterone from being able to attach properly, okay? So this is what the issue is, and nobody ever wants to talk about this, right? It's the xenoestrogens that are in our bodies that we're getting that attach to the estrogen receptor site, and when they're there, they block any chance of progesterone attaching. No chance at all. And then a tumor forms, okay? So that's why it's an issue, and that's why it's so important. And that's why we need to be careful about it. All right, enough of that. That was the tough love, Jodie. Okay. Breathe. Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about really quick. What time is it? Oh, sorry, Christy. I'm going to try and hurry. I'm sorry. Okay. So if you have a history of estrogen causing cancers in your family, you want to be very mindful of the xenoestrogens that you are being exposed to. So that's really a tip for you, is just be aware of it, be mindful of it. Then you have something called phytoestrogens. This can be very, very confusing, all right? And yes, that's why YL products are completely safe. You guys, it's a trade-off. I hear all the time of you know, oh, I can't swing a 50 PV order this month. You know what? Like, hello, where are you buying your toothpaste? Where are you buying your detergent? Where are you buying your soap? Target? I mean, just swap it out. It's the same price, and you're making sure that your body is getting healthy and instead of unhealthy, okay? Plus, you get points, and then you get free product and all that good stuff. Okay, enough of that. Phytoestrogens. Okay. Phytoestrogens are made by plants, and they are like xenoestrogens, structurally similar to estrogen that our human bodies make. Phytoestrogens are made in grains. So you're going to find it in grains, soy, fruits, vegetables, all that kind of stuff. The good news about phytoestrogens is that they don't seem to cause as many health problems as xenoestrogens do. Phytoestrogens can be problematic. That's why I don't really encourage eating soy very much. I would stay away from soy because that is a lot of phytoestrogen in the body. But some can be beneficial. So it's not as bad as a xenoestrogen, but you just have to be a little bit mindful of it. Some phytoestrogens actually have clinically been shown to reduce the likelihood of breast cancer. So can be a good thing sometimes, okay? In the event a person has difficulty, let's say you have difficulty digesting cabbage, broccoli, soy foods, and other things that contain high phytoestrogens, the problem usually isn't in the food itself, but in the digestive tract and in the liver cleansing ability. Okay, so on your handout, when you do look at it, I actually start with the fact that you need to take care of your gut and you need to take care of your liver, okay? The very first step anybody should do if they are thinking they're experiencing hormonal imbalance is they need to do a liver flush, period. Do a liver flush. You can do Master Cleanse, you can do any of the Juva products, you can do whatever, but you need to do a liver flush because if you have, let's say, I mean, let's even take like a 12-year-old girl who's starting to form, no, oh my gosh, a 10-year-old girl, right? It's starting at like age 8 now, starting to form breasts and starting to gain weight. And hell, that is a hormone disruption. It's the the buildup of the xenoestrogens from the personal care products and all of that, and from the food, do a liver dump, okay? Birth control, if somebody's been on birth control for years and years and years, it's stuck in your liver until you dump it out. So that can be a huge cause of a lot of hormone disruption. So always cleanse the liver and support the gut with probiotics, okay? That is always your first step for anything. Okay. Now, let's move on to, so let's talk a little bit about some products. All right. Any questions? Go ahead and throw them out. I don't think I've missed any. Soy protein isolate. Stay away from soy protein isolate. Just don't do it at all. Yeah, don't do it. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about some of my favorite products. Number one, estro. How many of you guys even know what estro is? Anybody? Anybody? And I'm just going to end on this and try to rein it in here. Try to rein it in. Anybody take estro or even know what it is? Do you know we have estro, which is a natural phytoestrogen that you can take? Because let me tell you that if our body needs progesterone, which it does, your body might also need some phytoestrogen, some good estrogen to help that chemical reaction happen, okay? So estro is amazing for that. It's a liquid, it's a tincture, which has black cohosh, fennel, clary sage, lavender, things like that, and it's amazing as a natural phytoestrogen, okay? It's great. So sometimes it just takes using that, along with taking your Progestins Plus every day. We talked about Thyromin to support your thyroid. Let's talk about Power Jize really quick. So you guys kind of know about Power Jize, but the thing to remember about Power Jize is that it is for both men and women. And I know a lot of times we think that it's only for men, because that's kind of what we were, I feel like that's the message I got at convention, but it's for women who have active lifestyles. Maybe you work out every day, or you run every day, or you do something active. Power Jize is great for you too, to help with the adrenal glands and all that stuff, okay? All right, Femigen is another one of my favorites. If you don't want to take estro, maybe you don't want to take a tincture form, then you can take Femigen. Femigen is another natural phytoestrogen supplement. This one has fennel, clary sage, ylang ylang. Those oils are very supportive of our endocrine system, very supportive of our emotions, all of that stuff, okay? This comes in a pill. I actually love to take Femigen. So my favorite combo is Femigen with Progestins Plus. And I take my Super B and my multigreens, and I feel amazing, okay? So Femigen is your option if you don't want to take a tincture. I think everybody needs to take Femigen too, honestly. I think because of the oils that are in it, then you've got some Chinese medicine herbs in there, ginseng root, licorice root, black cohosh, camp bark, L-cysteine. The amino acids are very important. So amino acids are carriers of messages, right? If we don't have enough amino acids in our body, then we can't have the messages go back and forth in the nerve impulses. So that's why Power Jize is important too. Agilis, I mean, that would be for joint support and stuff like that. But the amino acids, the building blocks, are super, super important. Okay, I'm going to take a break. Libido. Let's talk about libido. I'm going to pull up really quick one of the oils, just so I can look at it really quick, because I'll be honest, my brain doesn't have enough room for every kind of information. But okay, so let's talk about libido for a second. Libido, here's the thing, that's a sensation, okay? Sensation rubbed on the, can I say clit, Christy, is that okay? Can I say clitoris? Rubbed down there, also on the inner thighs, is very supportive of libido. But remember too that libido comes from starting at our hypothalamus, right? So using our oils for emotion support, then supporting our pituitary, supporting our thyroid, all of these things, okay? But sensation is a great support for just, even if you're, while you're trying to balance your body, you can support your libido that way. For men, goldenrod, I mean, it's not called goldenrod for a reason, right? So I have my husband rub it on the ball sack, you know, and that's great for libido for men. Great for natural support. We're just going there today, aren't we? Great for natural support of sperm production and all that kind of stuff. Well, we're not trying to get pregnant, but you know what I mean. Like, you know what I mean. Okay. So, sensation, Clariderm. If you deal with vaginal dryness, especially, this is ladies postmenopausal, Clariderm is a lifesaver down there. So just spray it down there. I use it actually on, because I'm not trying to tie the two together, but I use it on my daughter sometimes because she's 4, and young girls get stuff going on down there with the bladder and the the urinary system, things like that. So Clariderm, I have found, just keeps her nice and healthy. So I love doing that. But vaginal dryness, it's great for that. Ylang Ylang would be another one for libido. It's really great. Idaho balsam fir for men. Idaho blue spruce. Things like that. Okay? All right. Sklar Essence. So Sklar Essence is, you've got clary sage, you've got peppermint, Spanish sage, so just sage, and fennel. So this is another one that can be just very supportive of emotions, the hypothalamus, but also the hormonal system, endocrine system, and I wear it as a perfume. So I actually like to wear it as a perfume. Lady Sclareol. So I feel like some people tend to confuse Sklar Essence with Lady Sclareol because, I mean, hello, if you don't really know them, they kind of sound familiar in a way. So with Lady Sclareol, what was your question? Clariderm can be used in adults for the same reason? Yes, definitely. Okay, so Lady Sclareol is geranium, ylang ylang, rosewood. Oh my gosh. You guys, go buy some Lady Sclareol. You can still get rosewood. That's amazing. Jasmine, vetiver, orange, clary sage, Idaho tansy. Holla, you guys need to go get this. Sandalwood. I hope it's in stock right now. And so this one is really great for the emotional balance, the physical balance of the body, the libido. Again, a lot of people love to wear this one as a perfume too. So that's another option as well. So yeah, those are just kind of give you some indication a little bit. All right. Last but not least, I think that's it actually. Do you guys have any questions? I hope that helped a little bit. Throw out your questions. I'll wait a couple minutes to see what you have. I'm proud of myself. I did it close to an hour. On your handout, I wrote actually a liver cleanse for you guys on your handout. And I wrote a dragon menu for you. So your dragon menu is pituitary support, which is pressing to the roof of the mouth. Omega Gize. I wrote on here Ultra Young Spray. That's actually something that, it's like this famous Young Living product. Christy probably remembers it, but it's got DHEA. It's amazing. I've heard they're coming back with it at some point, but use Sacred Frankincense and Idaho Balsam Fir. Then your thyroid, which is Thyromin, Endoflex Myrtle, Adrenals, which is Super B. I forgot Mineral Essence is another great way to get that. Oh, my period, yes. Cortisol. Anyway, so you can see your dragon menu, and there's a liver cleanse. Okay. How I changed my period. Okay. I'm not going to say this is going to work for everybody, but I just want you to understand the power of phytoestrogens that they have in the body and progesterone. So Dragon Thyme is also considered another quasi-phytoestrogen. And so oh gosh, what was it for? It was either for convention or it was for the cruise. I can't remember. But I was supposed to have my period right during something I did not want to have my period during. And so I decided to just play around a little bit and see if I could change my cycle. And so all I did was I just did a bunch of Dragon Thyme on my belly every single day. Oh, it was for convention. And because who wants to have their period in a nice dress? Not me. And so I did a bunch of Dragon Thyme on my lower abdomen, bunch of progestins, but like a lot of Dragon Thyme. And I was able to shift it by like 2 weeks. So it was great. So you can try it. It might work for you. I'm trying to do that right now because I have a big event on Saturday and I'm still waiting, you know. But anyways, Dragon Thyme also is very, very helpful for young girls, preteens. Liver cleanse is totally fine for preteens. I did it when we were recovering my son. He did a liver cleanse at age 5. He was fine. I did a specific one, which I can give Chrissy the information for it, and I love this particular liver cleanse. But anyways, so young teen girls, Dragon Time is a lifesaver for them. Remember, Progestins Plus for all ages, whether you are 90 years old or 12 years old. It can be very supportive for you. So, all right, I'm going to stop talking now. Let me know if you have any last minute questions before I let you go. Thank you for having me. And if I hopefully get to meet you at convention, come and say hi. I'm sure I'll be just hanging out, doing whatever. The cruise maybe. I think I'm going to the cruise. But yeah, come and say hi. Reach out to me if you have any questions. And yeah, you guys are so lucky to have Christy. So thanks for letting me hop in. And have a good rest of your night. I'll see you guys later.